Your company already has a list of people they can't lose. Here's how to make sure your name is on it. Your manager just walked into a room with a list of names. 3 people on the team are getting cut next quarter. She looked at every name, paused, crossed yours off without hesitation, and moved on. That moment, where someone decides you're untouchable, doesn't happen because you show up on time or hit your KPIs. It happens because of 5 things most people never figure out. And today, I'm going to walk you through each one. The first thing that separates replaceable employees from essential ones is painfully simple. Replaceable people wait for tasks. Irreplaceable people spot fires before anyone smells smoke. Think about the person on your team who always seems to know what's about to break. They're not psychic, they just pay attention to patterns everyone else ignores. When a client keeps asking the same frustrating question, they build an FAQ before anyone files a complaint. When a process takes 3 unnecessary steps, they quietly streamline it and present the fix at the next stand-up. A McKinsey workforce study found that proactive employees generate up to 2.5 times more value than purely reactive ones. You don't need permission to solve a problem. You need the awareness to notice it and the initiative to act before it lands on someone else's desk. Stop waiting to be told. Start scanning for what's about to go wrong. Most companies have invisible walls between departments. Marketing doesn't talk to engineering. Sales has no clue what operations deals with daily. And somewhere in between, things fall through the cracks every single week. Irreplaceable people live in those cracks. They become translators, the person who can sit with developers and explain what the customer actually needs in plain language, or walk into a sales meeting and explain why that feature takes 6 weeks instead of 2. At Google, they've started calling these people glue workers. They hold entire teams together in ways that never show up on a performance review, but everyone notices the moment they're gone. One engineering manager put it this way: when their glue person went on parental leave, 3 projects stalled within 2 weeks. Nobody could figure out why until they traced every bottleneck back to one missing person. If you want to become irreplaceable, stop obsessing over your job description. Start paying attention to the gaps between job descriptions. That's where your real value hides. This next one sounds obvious, but almost nobody executes it well. Your manager is not your audience, they are your partner. And the fastest way to become essential is to anticipate what keeps them awake at night. When they're preparing for a board presentation, have the data pulled together before they send that Slack message. When a project goes sideways, walk in with 2 possible solutions instead of just a status update. A director at Salesforce once told me something that stuck for years: I will fight to keep the person who makes my blind spots disappear. That's what irreplaceable looks like from above. Not someone who needs constant direction, but someone who removes friction from leadership's plate before it even builds up. Think about it this way. Your manager juggles a dozen competing problems every single day. If you consistently take even one off their hands without being asked, you become the person they simply cannot afford to lose. Every company runs on institutional knowledge, the unwritten rules, the quiet workarounds, the context behind old decisions that never made it into any document or wiki page. Most people accumulate this knowledge by accident. Irreplaceable people accumulate it on purpose. They remember why the pricing model changed in 2019. They know which vendor burned the team and exactly why that penalty clause exists in every new contract. They understand which client needs a phone call instead of an email, and which executive hates surprises in Thursday meetings. Now, this is not about hoarding information or making yourself a bottleneck. Actually, it's the opposite. When you're the person who documents tribal knowledge and shares it generously, you become the living memory of the organization. Harvard Business Review calls this deep smarts experience-based knowledge that takes years to build and simply cannot be replaced by a new hire reading onboarding docs for a week. Ideas are everywhere. Execution is rare. In every workplace, you'll find people who start strong and fade by week 3, and then there are closers. Closers push through the last boring 20% of any project, the documentation nobody wants to write, the edge cases nobody wants to test, the stakeholder alignment meetings nobody wants to schedule. A former VP at Amazon shared something that rewired how I think about careers. She said, "I never worry about the person who has brilliant ideas. I worry about losing the person who gets things across the finish line every single time." Shipping matters more than starting. When your name becomes synonymous with "it actually got done," people stop questioning whether you belong on the team. They start wondering how they'd ever manage without you. Consistency in finishing what you start builds a reputation that no resume line item can capture. Be the closer. So here's what I want you to do right now, in the next 10 minutes. Pull up a blank note on your phone and write down one problem at work that nobody currently owns. Just one. Maybe it's a broken handoff between two teams. A recurring complaint from a client that keeps getting shrugged off. A process that wastes everyone's time but nobody has prioritized fixing. Then tomorrow morning, take the smallest possible step toward addressing it. Don't make an announcement. Don't ask for a meeting. Just start. Because becoming irreplaceable is not one dramatic moment that changes everything overnight. It's 100 quiet decisions to care slightly more than your role technically requires. And that journey begins with noticing what everyone else walks past. If this shifted how you think about your career, hit subscribe. We break down real career strategy like this every single week. That's a wrap, thanks for watching. If this gave you one idea you can use today, hit like and subscribe. See you in the next one.